They didn't just push her. They destroyed her most prized possession right in front of everyone, believing it would finally break her. What they didn't realize was that in shattering her laptop, they had triggered a chain reaction, a silent storm that would unravel their carefully curated lives. This wasn't just revenge. It was the story of a quiet girl who became a ghost in the system, making the digital world scream their secrets. The first bell at Northwood Hills High wasn't merely the start of class. It was the opening shot of a daily social race. Hallways swarmed with designer backpacks, pre-worn varsity jackets, and teens desperate to secure their place in the ecosystem of perception. The walls seemed alive with whispers, laughter, and the constant shuffle of high-heeled shoes or squeaking sneakers. Into this meticulously ordered world came Aara Vance, a sudden disruption, a variable the school's social algorithm had never accounted for. She was a study in contrasts. Where other students curated their identities with painstaking precision, Aara carried herself with quiet confidence, as if entirely indifferent to the judgmental gaze of the world around her. Her clothes were soft, unbranded, well-worn, a uniform of understated defiance. Her constant companion was a leather-bound journal, not filled with diary entries or adolescent musings, but intricate sketches of circuits, algorithms, and proofs of mathematical elegance. Her hazel eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the hallways with analytical detachment, as if reading invisible lines of data no one else could see. For the first week, Northwood ignored her. It wasn't that she went unnoticed, but her silence made her irrelevant in the eyes of the self-important hierarchy that ruled the school. At the top of this hierarchy was Chloe Sterling. Beauty was her weapon, wealth her fortress. At her side was Mark Henderson, star quarterback, whose public smile masked the cruel smirk reserved for those he deemed beneath him. Their court consisted of those who orbited the twin suns of Chloe's approval and Mark's reflected glory, a carefully cultivated ecosystem of influence. They noticed Aara only because her silence was an insult to their noise. Her refusal to seek validation disrupted the carefully maintained order of Northwood. The first strike against Aara was subtle, almost imperceptible. It happened in Advanced Placement English, a class Chloe took for transcript padding. Mr. Davies, the teacher, asked about the thematic symbolism in 1984. Aara's answer was quiet, but brilliant. She connected Orwellian themes to modern algorithmic control and surveillance, leaving the teacher momentarily speechless. The classroom buzzed with astonishment. Chloe's envy ignited. This wasn't just a shy, quiet girl. This was someone whose intelligence was untouchable. The first public attack occurred in the main hallway, the school's social artery. Aara, head down in a book, was collided with by Mark, sending her textbooks and precious leather journal skidding across the polished floor. Laughter erupted from Chloe's entourage, and a circle of students formed to watch. Aara's response was unnerving. She moved with calm, deliberate grace, gathering her scattered belongings without a hint of anger. "Oh, you really should watch your step," Chloe cooed, her voice dripping with condescension. She reached for the journal, fingers tracing the cover with faux curiosity. But Aara snatched it back, her hazel eyes locking with Chloe's. There was no anger, no pleading, only the cold, dispassionate assessment of a scientist studying an aggressive insect. Without another word, she stood, finished collecting her things, and walked away. The spark had been lit. A campaign of whispers, rumors, and social sabotage began. Aara's locker was defaced, not with crude graffiti, but with a mocking, mathematically complex equation written in permanent marker. Her image was circulated in cruel memes on encrypted apps. Whispers suggested she was unstable, a charity case, somehow unworthy of her quiet brilliance. But Aara remained an island. She didn't engage publicly. She didn't report it. To the world, she appeared a victim accepting her fate. But in the sanctuary of her bedroom, a different reality existed. Her room was a fortress. At its center, a custom-built computer tower hummed with liquid cooling, surrounded by monitors displaying cascading code, network maps, and live feeds, not just from her own house, but from public IPs she had accessed. Shelves held soldering irons, oscilloscopes, textbooks like applied cryptography and the art of memory forensics. Aara wasn't merely a quiet transfer student. She was a digital prodigy, a phantom of the online world, turning her bedroom into a cyber warfare command center. Her enemies had unknowingly declared war on a battlefield they could not even perceive. The cafeteria became the point of no return. Aara sat at her usual isolated table, earbuds in, fingers dancing across the keyboard of her powerful Linux machine. She was deep in a complex penetration test when Chloe and Mark approached, their shadows falling over her screen. "Look, guys," Mark boomed, drawing the attention of nearby tables. "It's the school ghost. For a robot, you type pretty fast. Writing a love letter to your calculator?" Laughter erupted. Chloe leaned closer, perfume clouding the air. "What's so fascinating anyway?" she sneered. With a contemptuous swipe, she slammed the laptop lid, but the machine had been set to never sleep. Annoyed, Chloe lifted it and flipped it off the table. It hit the floor with a sickening crunch. Screens went permanently black. Gasps filled the room. Aara lifted her gaze. The calm in her eyes had hardened into something glacial, something infinitely dangerous. "You broke my world. Now I'm going to break yours," she said softly. Her smile was thin, cold, and never reached her eyes. That night, her digital counterattack began. Mark was first. Every password he had used across games and social media was now gibberish. Accounts locked. Recovery emails sent to unreadable addresses. Every post, memory, and selfie vanished, replaced with public humiliation. Chloe discovered the same. Her perfect life laid bare. Private conversations, misdeeds, and petty scheming, all exposed for everyone to see. At school the next day, the hierarchy had flipped. Students who had once cowered now watched Chloe and Mark with bold contempt. The bullies' attempts at intimidation were met with sneers or laughter. Their house of cards had collapsed. But Aara's justice required a public reckoning. The Spring Fling Assembly, the social highlight of the season, became her stage. The annual highlight reel was replaced with a cinematic exposé. Mark cheating on a calculus exam, Chloe plotting against classmates, donations mysteriously manipulating grades, all documented and undeniable. The gym fell deathly silent. Chloe's smile froze into a mask of horror. Mark buried his head in his hands. The final image was simple but powerful. To every student who has ever felt small or powerless, your voice is your weapon. Your truth is your armor. Systems that enable bullies are fragile, and I am a force of nature. The fallout was total. Chloe stripped of her crown, escorted by a stone-faced vice principal. Mark suspended, scholarship revoked. Northwood Hills High's social structure disintegrated. Aara didn't seek popularity. She became a legend. Students once silenced now approached her with respect. Together with a small group of inspired peers, the computer whiz, the artist, the writer, she founded the Northwood Digital Guardian Project. They created a secure, anonymous reporting app for students and held workshops on digital literacy and online safety. The school transformed. Fear had been replaced by courage. The bully's reign was over, and Aara's quiet brilliance became a beacon. Her classroom presence was no longer just tolerated, it was admired. Students once too shy to speak now found voices. The nerds in the computer lab nodded with respect. Artists smiled in passing. Quiet students, once eating alone, now found the courage to sit at her table. Aara herself didn't seek recognition. She returned to her code, her journal, her projects. Yet, the school courtyard, once a minefield of intimidation, now felt safe. Piece by piece, line by line, the foundations of a healthier, stronger community were built. Aara Vance had not only survived Northwood Hills High, she had reshaped it. She had transformed fear into empowerment, bullying into accountability, and destruction into creation. In a world that underestimated her, she had become unstoppable, a quiet girl who became a force of nature, a ghost in the machine, a legend who liberated an entire school.